Hello, I'm Nancy Cohen from Sons.Global. When we began our YouTube transmissions, we were flooded with a bunch of questions. So today I'm going to try and answer a few of those questions. The one that I'm focusing on for today is the 7 ancient pathways. Many people have wanted to know what are the 7 ancient pathways. So I'm going to begin by sharing a testimony. I was caught up into the heavens 11 different times and taken to a place with like 10-story golden gates. And these golden gates, there were like huge doors, and the history of humankind was etched into it from the beginning all the way to about 2/3 of the way down on the left-hand side of the door. There were 2 huge angels that stood in guard of these ancient doorways. And whenever I would show up, they would open up the doors, and behind the doors, I would see something that had the appearance, the only thing I can liken it to is a cartoon caricature of a sunrise. So basically, there was one flat line with 7 different pathways going off, and they were all made of pure light. And it did look like a cartoon picture of a sun coming up and dawning of the new age. I asked the angels, what are these paths? And they said, these are the 7 ancient pathways. The path of wisdom, the path of knowledge, the path of understanding, the path of counsel, the path of might, the path of the fear of the Lord, the path of revelation. And when they said they were ancient pathways, of course, I've always known them as the 7 spirits before the throne. But they're multidimensional, and as everything is in the spirit, they can be pictured in many different ways. When they said the path of wisdom, because the spirit of wisdom is a friend of mine, I took a flying leap and tried to leap off onto the path of wisdom because I wanted to put my feet on that pathway. The angels grabbed me back and pulled me back and said, it's not yet time for you to access the 7 ancient pathways. We're just showing them to you. This happened at 11 different times during my ascension when I would come to the gates that would open up to the 7 ancient pathways, but always I would be stopped from stepping onto those pathways. I was in Southern California. I had been invited to do a conference with Dr. O, and it was my first meeting with Dr. O, and I had heard great, fabulous things about what a wonderful revelator he was and how profound a teacher he was. We could spend the whole day together just talking about mystical realms and dimensions. And I woke up instantly, and I don't know to this day how I knew who this creature was. But I sat bolt upright in my bed, and I said, Pleiadia, what are you doing here? Now, I have never, to my knowledge, had an encounter with Pleiadia. So how I knew her name, I don't know. But she was motioning me to come this way. Now, my soul and my spirit began to have a bit of an argument. I could actually hear audibly saying, if you take Pleiadia's hand, you may not be here to spend your time with Dr. O tomorrow. You better wait until another time. But my spirit was just full of excitement because I knew something was about to happen that was above and beyond my understanding. So my spirit went out and I took Pleiadia's hand. And instantaneously, we were back at the 10-story high golden gates. The angels were not there at that time, but obviously Pleiadia had a level of dominion over that arena because she pointed her finger at the doors, and the doors just opened up, and she motioned me to step out on the path of wisdom. But when I stood at the edge of the balcony in heaven, that's what I can call it, I looked out and there were no pathways. And I thought, oh my goodness, if I take a leap off of here, I may be floating in outer space forever. And telepathically, she read my mind, and she said, I guess you're looking for the 7 ancient pathways, right? And I said, yes, I am. And she put her arms out in a circle, and in her arms there appeared a basket full of gold dust. And in this basket, there was a crystalline ladle, and she dipped down into the golden dust, threw it out into the open air, and it just kind of filtered down enough so that I could barely discern the edge of the pathways. And then she motioned for me to step out. I stepped immediately onto the ancient path called wisdom, and I had the experience above and beyond. It would take me hours to share everything that happened during that night. But to make a long story short, this began at 3 in the morning, and it lasted until 3 in the afternoon. Now, when I came back to myself in my hotel room, I thought, oh my goodness, Dr. O canceled all of his appointments for the whole day so we could meet together. And then I stood him up. This is just like not acceptable. I had, in the meantime, called his PA and told him, Zach, something has happened and I'm not going to be able to make my appointment with Dr. O in the morning. Please give him my apologies and I'll explain later. I called Zach and he took me to the church and I told him about Pleiadia. He said, you had a visitation from Pleiadia? And I said, yes. And he said, did she take you to the double golden doors? I said, yes. Did she give you access to the 7 ancient pathways? I went, yes. He repeated everything that I had seen during the night. And he said, it's a good thing that you didn't cancel that appointment for this appointment, because if you had, it would have taken you 7 more years to gain access to those ancient pathways. There are pathways that are multi-dimensional. They're not only the ones that are behind the 2 golden doors. There are pathways inside of us. There are pathways in the heavens. There are pathways in different realms and dimensions that we can tap into once we believe that we can have access to those. One of the words that the Lord gave me this year for 2024 for the Melchizedek order was the Lord was going to begin to give us all brief access to these 7 pathways. These 7 pathways, once we set our foot on them, can change and rearrange directions, the depths of our understanding, our mentality, our level of consciousness. Everything can be shifted into higher gear once we step onto the 7 ancient paths. These ancient paths are what I would call the narrow path. Wide is the way to destruction, and many there be that go there. Narrow is the path, and very few go down that. There have been people that have actually tapped into the ancient pathways before, and there are many people in the earth today that are now living above and beyond normal years of longevity because they have tapped into these 7 ancient pathways. One of the teachings that we do on Sons.Global is how to open the internal ancient pathways within. When the word says, lift up your heads, O ye gates, lift up your heads, O ye ancient doors, and let the King of Glory come in, it's not only referring to gates and doors in heaven, it's referring to the gates and doors inside. And in fact, if you read it very carefully, when it says, lift up your heads, O ye gates, how many gates do you know that have heads to lift? He's referring to the gateways, the pathways, the doorways inside of us, because inside of us are huge, vast, untapped depths of wealth and power and creativity that has not yet been revealed. The word says it this way, it has not yet been revealed what we shall be, but when we see him as I am, not just as your Savior, not just your healer, your deliverer, your provider. When you see him as I am, which is everything from the beginning to the end, then you shall be like him. When you see him as in a mirror reflected, meaning looking at him until you actually become the perfect reflection of his glory, then you shall know him as well as he knows you. That's an amazing, amazing statement. What is it that he knows about us? Every thought we have, every word we speak, every deed we do, how many cells are in our body, how many hairs are on our head. We can know Him that well. And part of our access to knowing Him that well includes the capability of stepping onto the 7 ancient pathways. On our website, sons.global, I have a very deep teaching concerning these 7 pathways. If you're interested in going into more depth and finding out what they do and what they represent and how you can be activated on those pathways, inside of that you will find mysteries, and the Lord will unlock things inside of you that have been locked up into this time. That's why the Word says, your eye has not yet seen, your ear has not yet heard, neither has it entered into your heart or into your mind the great, huge, magnificent things He has planned for you. The day of the great revealing is coming, and we are in a state of preparation to do things that have never been done before, to see things that have never been seen before. We're going to step up and step out and step into the greater works that Jesus said we would do. I hope you'll tap into sons.global to get the deeper depths of these teachings. In the meanwhile, I just want to say thank you for joining us. God bless you and have a great day.